The mic is up to you because right here you have more than a voice. I am Moses Humphrey, and let's get you into our topics for today. Ambode vows to lead Tinubu's 2027 re-election campaign in the Southwest. And also, Ebonyi government bans house and land agents from 2026.
Good morning and thanks for joining us. I am Chukwuma Okoro. Away from that, court declares 15-year compulsory service in military unconstitutional, says soldiers free to resign anytime.
All right, those are the major topic of conversation today. I am Fina Chukwu, and we have other interesting, stories or trended stories. But before we proceed, we kindly urge you to, visit the website at www.vop.ng. There you have fresh and trending stories. And if you've not been following us on social media, do well to do that. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on all the social media platforms, we are VOP TV Live. Talking about trending stories, this one actually happens to be on a sad note, as a Dangote truck was involved in a fatal accident in Enugu State on Wednesday, reportedly killing several people. Eyewitnesses confirmed the incident, though the exact number of casualties and the precise location have not been disclosed. Survivors are said to be receiving medical attention at nearby facilities. This incident adds to a growing list of fatal accidents involving Dangote truck across Nigeria. A few weeks ago, a Dangote truck struck Ruth Otabo, sister of baby Naija winner Fina in Edo State, resulting in her death. Also in April 2024, another Dangote truck collided with a Toyota Hiace bus on the Okene-Lokoja highway, killing 19 people. The repeated occurrence of such accident has sparked widespread outrage among Nigerians. Many citizens have taken to social media to demand stricter monitoring of heavy-duty trucks across Nigeria, particularly those owned by large corporations. When I saw the story, I said the person that sent it to me said, please, if you have anybody in Enugu, do well to call them. If you have anybody traveling from the Enugu-Port Harcourt way, do well to call them. And I was like, what happened? And they said it was the collision involved 3 buses or 3 vehicles. And I was like, oh my God, again? That was the first thing that came into my mind, again? Why? Because it's becoming one too many. The nuns actually visited Dangote Corporation to talk about how students are being killed, in some high institutions because of the reckless nature of the driving. And then I just pictured again what happened with the Ruth Otabo, the lady that she really suffered being here on earth because the leg was amputated. I think they say something about the ruptured blood or something like that. And at the end of the day, she died. And now we're getting that undisclosed a number of persons also died in that particular accident that happened yesterday. This speaks volume to how the government or the government agencies are not really doing what they should do. Why am I saying it this way? Sometimes like the one that happened in Edo State, we're able to find out that the driver happens to be an underage man who actually is not even licensed to drive. Then how come did he get behind the steering? He pleaded guilty to that case. But then what happened after that? That's another question. Is it that Dangote actually does not know what it takes to employ persons who are qualified to be the drivers, or are they kind of looking away from them and their activities? That's another question actually that Nigerians are asking. Why must it be, most of the time, why must it be, Dangote truck today, or this or that or the other one?
All right. Fifi, I understand. It's quite unfortunate, but let's put it out there. The Dangote group has made clarifications that particular truck doesn't belong to Dangote Group.
But he has Dangote crested on it because there
were 2 accidents that happened that in Enugu, on that same road, that same axis of Enugu-Port Harcourt Expressway. I was in the office yesterday when my daughter called me and said, Daddy, thank God for what happened. She was going to school, University Teaching Hospital, for her posting. So, and the accident happened a few seconds before their own vehicle passed. And I understand that a UNTS school bus was involved in that accident. At last count, 10 people confirmed dead and 10 injured. And those that were injured are receiving treatment at the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital. But it is important to point out that the buses that collided with trucks were driving against traffic. So it was not as if it was an accident that occurred maybe we were moving and something happened. Those two buses were driving against traffic. And you begin to ask, why? And if you move further down road, there's a road safety. In fact, the state road safety office is located within that precinct, a few meters before the UNTH or Zala there. And so we begin to ask, why is it that they don't patrol? And people have the effrontery to drive against traffic when they also know that there is a road safety office on that exit. So meaning that, look, it's possible that the road safety marshals may have been compromising. I am not saying, but I'm just saying, looks like, because for people to have effrontery to drive against traffic within precincts, where they have the road safety office. Now, all of that said, the Dangote Group drivers, we have to admit, are very reckless. They are very reckless. There was some time about 4 or 5 years ago when Dangote put out this advert that he wanted to employ PhD holders, as drivers. And part of the reason then was that, look, the people that drive, those drivers were uncool that time, so they needed to be trained. All of that, nothing happened. Away from employing PhD holders, it is important that Dangote Group, as big as they are, they should train their drivers. Some of them are not even licensed. Fina said something about drivers being underage. You see them driving very big trucks. And if you look at the person, very young person, some of them are very temperamental. They apply road rage, and in the midst of all these things, innocent people are caught in that fiasco. It's quite unfortunate that we had to lose lives. And again, it speaks to the activities of road traffic officers in all parts of the country. You see the vehicle inspection officers, when they mount roadblocks on the way, on the road and all of that. They leave trucks, that they are not roadworthy and come after brand new vehicles. Why? Because they know that if you have one document that is missing, they're able to extort you. They're able to exploit you. In fact, I understand that from their offices, their bosses will tell them, go to the road and come back with a certain amount of money. So it speaks to how we manage traffic situations in this country. Everybody is guilty, drivers, other road users, the officers that are in charge. So it is time for us to do what is right. People that are in charge, the officers that are in charge, do well. Like our hearts go out to the families that lost loved ones in those two accidents, unfortunately.
Now, when Nigerians are talking about the particular truck that involved in that accident, it's also important to know that it was branded. They have the logo. Now, Dangote come up to say that the vehicle was being operated by a third party. And they want to, now that they want to start investigating why the vehicle is having their logo all that. They would have actually put they would have done.
No, the Dangote Group, they need to ask.
They said that before. Well, they said that before. When the Roots accident happened, I think Dangote Group came out to say, look, there are a lot of trucks out there that are branded Dangote Group but do not belong to them. They've said that before. And I really appreciate the perspective that Chukwuma put out there. It's good to know. I mean, it's, knowing that these buses were driving against traffic, it kind of changes the narrative a bit. Because when people drive against traffic, you start to wonder. We have Okada riders driving against traffic at certain times. You have them driving in the midst of vehicles sometimes, even those driving, along with the traffic line. Sometimes you see a very busy expressway and they're driving right in between cars. And you start to wonder, what if you get on somebody's blind side and they just decide to swerve a little bit and then boom, you run into them. It will be an accident. Yes, that's an accident. It's possible to get on someone's blind side. We need to, in as much as, we want to hold the drivers responsible, the truck driver, and you see this issue of road rage. Sometimes people feel, because I'm driving a bigger vehicle, I can oppress you. And the ones driving a smaller vehicle feel, is it because you think you're driving a bigger vehicle, you can't oppress me, I can maneuver. So we have this mentality, and it affects us. You start to wonder why you drive in Nigeria for 30 years, and then you go abroad and you still have to learn driving. Because the driving culture here is terrible. It's terrible. How many drivers went through driving school? What do we even have at the driving school level? What are they being taught? Are people taught road signs? You step on a zebra crossing in Nigeria and they tell you, you will just die.
You know the zebra. You know the zebra. You are not zebra.
Because the ordinary driver does not even understand what the line is there for. If you step on it, he will run you over. It's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. Now, it's important also for Dangote, the Dangote group now, not the individual himself, the Dangote group, to start looking out for either third parties or whoever with trucks branded Dangote group, because it's putting the organization in bad light. So start to hold them responsible. You should have people in the field. You know, you should know those under your employment, under your employ. And then those that are not, compel them to rebrand. Or even if they're going to have your name because they do business with you, they should have the name of their own company boldly pasted on the trucks. That way we know who to hold responsible. Not when an accident happens and you hold Dangote group and they say, no, it's not us. And then you start to look around for the other person to hold responsible and they're nowhere to be found. And yes, Fina did say something. A lot of these drivers are young people. I mean, there's nothing wrong in being a young driver, but some young people are reckless. That's the point I'm trying to make. And a lot of them, even the older ones, a lot of them drive under the influence, and then you now start to ask, what is the role? We know the role of traffic marshals and the rest of them, but how many of them really, do we have breathalyzers? Do we stop those people to check their breath to know if they've consumed some alcohol substance or taken something illegal? Do we do that? No. You rarely find people do that. It's when it's suspected that this person is carrying contraband or when this person, when they're going to get money from this person, that's when they clamp down on people. Let's be more conscious of saving lives. And Nigerians, please, we are not insane people. We are not out of our minds. It is absolutely ridiculous to drive against traffic. You don't know the mindset of the person coming on the other side. He might be running, he might have an emergency to catch up with, and he's trying to maneuver. And there you are, and then you run into him, and then there's a big accident. Let's be careful.
Yes.
My condolences to those that were affected.
Let's be very careful. Moses, I would like for us to expand this discussion and now bring it down to Lagos. You talked about people that drive against traffic. Between the Maza Maza to Alakija stretch of the Lagos-Badagry Expressway, at night, you know the people that drive against traffic? These bikes, motorbikes, cyclists. And you know what? The kind of lights they fit.
It could blind one.
Not that it could, it actually does if you are driving momentarily at that time. And you know that road is very narrow. So it barely accommodates two vehicles. And when it does, you see the person driving against traffic with this kind of floodlight that blinds you.
I think it's intentional. It's intentional to slow you down.
No, they are driving against you.
They are driving against traffic, and it's intentional. They make the light bright, so you get to slow down.
You'll be surprised to know
so you don't run into them.
You'll be surprised to know that a lot of those people are military
personnel.
They are military officers, either from the naval base or the military barracks, somewhere between barracks and all of that. And so what do? You are struggling, to give way to this other person that is also struggling to move. And there are potholes in that axis. So I think what we need to do is the Lagos state government, the authorities concerned, even the military authorities, rein your men in. Because by the time, somebody is knocked down, whether he's a soldier or what, that person is, either the leg is broken or the person is even dead. And once someone is dead, the other thing you can do is maybe penalize the other person that caused the accident.
You see,
again, another one is when you talked about the way we procure driver's license here. You practically don't need to undergo any test. You just go.
So there's actually rules. You are supposed to undergo tests.
No, but you don't.
But you don't.
That is it. You don't.
Because we cut corners.
We cut corners in everything we do. Like if you abroad, if you are driving, before they give you your license, and if you are driving and you want to reverse and you bring out your head to look, you have to go back to training school. But we don't even get, you don't get tested. The only thing you need to do, pay the amount of money. The officers that are issuing the licenses are more interested in the money they make for the government because they want to know that, oh, this issuing authority raked in. So in fact, we had to exceed our target for the year. So if you put all of these things together, you know that Nigeria is a huge work that we need to do. All of us, our work is clearly cut out for us.
And it's interesting that the government has brought out a new curriculum for students in schools. I think a lot of these things should be added to it. Students should be taught road signs, road behavior, and some of all these things from that age.
Yeah,
because it's what you grow up with. I mean, if you're, we see children playing and they hang on on chairs and say, Oshodi, 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 because that's what they see.
That's what they see.
That's what they see. So they see a driver also maneuvering and insulting somebody and saying things, and they feel, okay, this is what is obtainable. So when you see them play, they do that, and then as they grow, they see it as a norm.
As a norm.
So we need to start.
It
becomes a standard. So we need to start tutoring younger generation from now, because I mean, you don't wait until they are of age. You need to start now. Well,
that is for the people that were able to get to school, right? Because we have a high number of persons not being able to access modern education. And then who is now going to tutor the person who migrates from being a conductor to a driver?
A mechanic to a driver.
And a mechanic to a conductor to a, that's a hierarchy.
That's how they move. That's the progression.
God will help us. That's all I can say.
Anyway, let's get into another story. A security meeting in Katsina State on Tuesday was disrupted by a group of men and youths suspected to be thugs shortly after it began. Well, the incident came just days after a similar attack on former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, and ex-attorney general of the Federation, Abubakar Malami. Related cases of political violence were also recently recorded in Kogi and Jigawa State. The meeting, organized by the Katsina Security Community Initiative, was aimed at finding solutions to the worsening insecurity in the state. Well, Katsina has been under terrorist attacks for some time, with many lives lost and property worth billions destroyed. The forum brought together experts from diverse fields, including retired senior military and police officers, academics, and opinion leaders. Well, trouble began when the convener, Dr. Bashir Korfi, was giving an overview of the state's security situation. He observed that some local government areas had been more or less shut down, with economic activities such as farming and animal rearing paralyzed, while schools had either been closed or taken over by the terrorists. This is happening again, and guess where? From Katsina State. Where is Katsina State? Katsina State is the home state of former President Muhammadu Buhari, of blessed memory. May God bless his soul. Now, we understand from the security report there that some local governments have been what? Shut down. Animal rearers can no longer go to farm. Schools have been shut down. But we understand that schools are on holidays. But even before then, schools had been shut down. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the whole of Katsina State has been enveloped by insecurity. No disputes about that. Now, concerned citizens, Katsina State Security Initiatives came together and said, what do we do to help ourselves? Because it looks like the problem is beyond the government. The government looks overwhelmed. So what do we do to help ourselves? And in the course of the meeting, we understand that a group of young men, purportedly, and it's curious to know that when this was happening, the governor, Diko Rada was in Abuja, in the State House, having some personal meeting with the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And in the course of this, the convener, Dr. Krufi, said, look, what is going on? We need to do a lot, How do we help the government? And all of a sudden, young men, thugs, suspected to have been sent by the government, swooped in and scattered the meeting with knives, daggers, and all of that, threatening people, if you don't end this meeting, we are going to cause trouble and we are going to injure you. What is that supposed to mean? Now, I want to relate that with what happened in Niger State the other day, where an emir said, please, don't spotlight this government in a bad way. Because if you say that there is a lot of kidnapping and insecurity going on, what you are simply telling us is that the government has failed. So don't put out that in the public. So what kind of narratives are we trying to create about holding government to account? Are they even trying to help the government? The other day, El-Rufai was in a meeting. The meeting was disrupted by talks suspected to have been sent by the government of Kaduna State. In all of these things, I think the major problem that we have in Nigeria is the government, to be very honest with you. The government is the major problem. How come it has now become a problem to say, government, how do we help you to solve our own problems that you cannot solve? And we are trying to help you. Say, no, don't help us. Because if you try to help us, you are going to demarcate the government in office, the government in power. I'm lost. Honestly, I'm lost.
You shouldn't be lost, because when you're talking about this, you also recall that the reason the governor of Katsina State visited the president was also to talk about the issue of insecurity. Yes, they were, insecurity. And the president reaffirmed his support for creating of maybe state policing in that region. And the people that went on that courtesy visit to him applauded the president, accepting to look to their direction when they talk about insecurity. And in one breath, people were there disrupting meeting that were being organized to end the issue of insecurity in that state. It speaks volume to what some persons actually have come up to talk about Nigeria, and the fact that the issue of insecurity is benefiting some persons, like it's adding more wealth into some person's pocket. Some actually have come up to say that the reason for this, or some I think it was 2 days or 3 days ago that someone said something about the political elites benefiting from insecurity through the security votes and the illegal mining activities happening in all these other places that we're having the issue of insecurity on the high road. And it's kind of glaring, because I don't see the reason why I am working my best, or trying to do my best to make sure that school children can go back to school, farmers can go back to farm to cultivate, to bring out the crops. People who are not even Nigerians, because we learned from the security officers that some of these persons causing mayhem in Nigeria are not even Nigerians, they're foreigners. And we're trying to find a way to send them out of our nation. And then other persons who are supposed to be Nigerians now are disintegrating or scattering the persons who are there for the meeting. It shows that they are sponsored. And the people that can actually have such rights, I'm sorry to say, actually happen to be the government. Yes, it is the people in government that will actually have what it takes to gather other persons to say, go infiltrate this thing, infiltrate this particular meeting, make sure that this forum or the forums are being destroyed, make sure that it scatter everything happening there, because they are benefiting from it. And why is it that it is always in the north? I am sorry to say this. I stayed in the north. I was bred there. I love the north more than any other part of this nation, because life there is easy. Yes, but why is it that whenever it gets to us talking about the issue of insecurity in the north, you can also see persons from the north now talking against it? Is it that they are enjoying the fact that farmers are not in the farm, people are being killed? Is it that they are telling us now that we should go home and not talk about... I could remember when the former president of Nigeria decided to declare state of emergency in Borno State, where the Boko Haram thing began earlier. And then some persons were of the opinion that attack on Boko Haram is attack on them. And now Boko Haram now festered into something, a behemoth that Nigeria cannot control again, giving birth to other terrorist groups. And yet people are still defending what shouldn't be defended. I don't understand how we see that. It could, even if you walk up to tell me now this is more like a religious cause, I don't think it's a religious cause, because majority of people in the north are Muslims, and they are the ones being killed. The other day it was I think on a counted number of persons who were killed in the mosque. There was an attack in the mosque somewhere in the north, and persons lost their lives. If Nigeria insecurity issue have degenerated to that point, and then people are looking for solution to help end this, and persons are there to disrupt the meeting, then the government actually should tell Nigerians what is really happening. That's all I can say.
Oh, well, I want to be a little more careful in addressing this, because when the way the story is, especially, it feels like, especially when you look at the El-Rufai, Kaduna convention or conference attack, and then you look at Malami's narrative, and then you hear the Niger State report, and then when you look at all these things, I want to be a lot more careful. It might seem like some opposition trying to make the government in power look bad. I'm just saying, it might seem that way. Some people might, okay, let's disrupt these things, so people will think it's this person. I'm not. I think I need to look deeper into some of these things and try to analyze these things better. But I'm a little more careful in commenting.
Where's the
Moses,
opposition?
you can't be very careful. You have already said something.
No, I'm just being.
But the thing is,
I'm just saying.
You have already said something.
No, I'm not.
I will relate with that to the extent that, yes, it is possible in the Kaduna incident. We see that happen all the time. And in the Malami incident. But regarding what happened in Niger State,
in Kwara State, where the emir of Lafiaji come up to say.
Well, that's
understandable.
Yes,
that's
I didn't mention that. I didn't mention.
No, you did. You did.
No,
you even mentioned Niger.
I mentioned Niger, but not Kwara.
Niger. So what happened in Niger?
Oh well.
Anyway, let's just, but I understand the angle that Moses is taking. It is possible, that people insiders could also cause problems to give the government a bad name. It happens. Even I know a lot about what happened during the Abacha era, where people had to do all sorts of things and just hung the thing on Abacha's head.
But the government should do something good so that Nigeria will not have anything to hold against them again.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
of
that's how
course.
far we can go, talking about all the stranded stories that, kept the social media buzzing. We'll have to, without wasting much time, let's take a quick peep on the cover page of the national dailies. We'll have the Vanguard newspaper, the Nigerian News Direct, the Daily Trust, the Nigerian Tribune, and the Punch. I would like to start off from the Vanguard newspaper. Above the masthead, the window headlines are: price hike, no subsidy on CNG, says FG. Alleged terrorism, DSS Dog 9 over killings in Benue Plateau. FG not using anti-corruption agencies to witch hunt opposition. That's coming from Minister Eid El Malud. FG declares tomorrow public holiday. Insecurity. I have to create state police. That's coming from Tinubu. Declare state of emergency in North to save us. That's coming from NEF. Declaration exceeds Afenifere, ACF, MBF, others, noting nothing has changed in Yellow Water since Tinubu's Benue visit, says a chief leader. Nations must link security with good governance to check terrorism, says Defense Minister. Once operationalization of ECOWAS standby force to be pursued with renewed vigor. And then we have a pictorial there where the UK Prime Minister and also the trade envoys made it there. And beside that, on page 55 is the sports segment where we have 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifying match. Fans to pay 3,000 Naira and 1,000 Naira to see Eagles Amavube. NLC to FG emulate states that pay above 70,000 Naira minimum wage. Sirika blames Airpeace United Asman for failure of Nigeria Air. Interesting. That story is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. U.S. cites security concerns for visa revocation. Those are the stories on the cover page of Vanguard newspaper.
All right, so let's go to the Guardian now. The window headlines. Non-oil growth accounts for 20 trillion Naira income, says presidency. Constitution review. Abbas unveils proposed amendments to southern stakeholders. DSS arraigns 9 suspects over Benue, Plateau killings. And also, we have insecurity. FG reopens debate on state police as Tinubu declares readiness. And then we have ADC faults Tinubu's charity plan for National Library. Digital lenders face 100 million Naira fine for consumer abuse, data privacy violations. Zulum leads Northeast governors to Tinubu seeks completion of 17 roads, oil exploration. Airline operators defend discriminatory, expensive Yuletide flight tickets. And then poly lecturers may withdraw services after ultimatum. Contractors storm Abuja demand 4 trillion naira payment for completed projects. Well, those are the headlines on the cover page of The Guardian.
All right, now let's take a quick look at the Punch newspaper with the window headlines. My reforms have restored Nigeria's global respect. That's coming from the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Non-oil revenue jumps 40% to 20.6 trillion naira, President say. National Association of Resident Doctors insists on strike, says over 2,000 doctors owed. Now, beside the nameplate, you have security concerns behind visa cancellations for Nigerians, others. That's coming from the US. Now, the big story, APC, opposition clash over FG's revenue growth claim. With the riders, present counterfacts, presidency tells critics. Revenue nothing without results, opposition. Economists query Tinubu's no more borrowing assertion amid 13 trillion naira deficit. And most stories, the MTN, 15 others remit 54 billion naira in education police taxes. 3 killed in Lagos Masquerader Festival clash. Terrorists recruited 1,364 West African children, shot 14,000 schools. That's coming from the UN. And that's all from the Punch newspaper. That's how far we can go on super headlines. Moses and I return at 10 o'clock for extended review of newspaper headlines. Now we'll go for a short break. And when we come back, Ambode vows to lead Tinubu's 2027 re-election campaign in Southwest. Join us again.
The 2564 is coming up on Barney 9, right?
The 2564 Atlantic Tower.
What happens in the hush behind hangar doors? Who signs the papers that gamble with lives? Which truths were grounded before they even ever had wings? If you've ever buckled a seatbelt at 30,000 feet, if you've ever stared out of that tiny window and wondered who's really in control of the skies, it isn't just flight, it's power, it's politics, it's pressure sealed in steel. We're peeling back the clouds from runway risks to sky-high secrets. We're diving deep where most dare not to look. Aviation Scope, every Sunday at 7 p.m. only on Voice of the People TV. We don't just report, we reveal. We don't just ask, we uncover. Because when it comes to the skies, ignorance is turbulence. Aviation Scope, the sky isn't the limit, it's just the beginning.
Good morning. It's the start of a beautiful day. Or start your day right with a healthy dose of news, fun, and inspiration. Join us on VOP this morning for the latest news, trending topics, and uplifting stories to set your day on the right vibe. From news and current events to lifestyle and entertainment, you are covered.
VOP this morning, 8 a.m. Monday through Friday.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get tribe! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues on Voice of the People Television. Don't just react, understand. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more.
Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as it is hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
Ever wonder what inspires your favorite gospel artists? Explore and discover the rich heritage of continental gospel music and how this transformative journey has evolved and shaped cultures around the world. As we dig deep into archival treasures, feel the energy in our praise jam, Gospel Fusion on Voice of the People Television. Tune in this Sunday, 3 to 4 p.m. and be part of a transformative experience that uplifts and inspires. Join us as we explore the transformative power of gospel music and its ability to uplift spirits and unite hearts.
All right, then now, thanks for joining us again. Now let's get into one of our topical conversations this morning. Former governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, has vowed to lead President Bola Tinubu's re-election campaign in the Southwest. Well, Ambode made the pledge in Badagry, Lagos, during a sensitization program on permanent voter card PVC registration. The former governor said President Tinubu had laid a strong foundation for Nigeria's growth and deserved a second term to consolidate on the achievements recorded so far. Well, he also reiterated his intention to seek a return as governor of Lagos State, promising to build on past gains while addressing present realities. Although the former one-term governor has continually reiterated his membership of the ruling party, well, some Nigerians have seen his recent obvious endorsement of the president as signaling to ensure his return as Lagos State governor in the future. Oh well, let's look at the possibility of this. And we do have with us Dele Fanimo, who is a public affairs commentator. Joining us from Abuja also, Patrick Ohifieme is a good governance advocate. He joins us virtually from Abuja. And from Port Harcourt, Prince Nixon Okwara, a public affairs analyst, a political strategist, certified security and risk management expert, and a real estate developer. That's, his side hustle. But anyway, these gentlemen will join us in the course of the program. But we have with us Dele Fanimo. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Moses, Fina, and Chukuma.
Now, let's look at, let's go back in time. Let's look at the fallout between between Tinubu at the time,
APC leader.
Yes, the leader of APC, and Ambode, and then there was that conference just before the primaries were held in the state, in the party. Some people say, "Oh, we want Ambode," and then I remember an interview that Senator Tinubu granted at the time, and he said, "Look, if the people say that they don't want him, that's what the people want. I can't interfere." Now, and then we saw what happened. He has, he's on record so far as the only governor in Lagos that has only done one term. Now, let's x-ray the happenings that led to their fallout, and then a possibility of a return.
Let me answer this question in a reverse order. The last one was if he's likely to return or not. The possibility is about 95% in 2027.
In 2027?
Yes. 95% possibility. 95 possibility.
Okay.
Where would that keep
If
the likes
all
of
things-
Obasa and even Tinubu's son?
No, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's.
If all things are right, Ambode will return. And I'll tell you why. You see, I've always said one thing. I worked with this current president as a reporter in Alausa for 4 years.
and I know one thing, and I have a cousin who is very close to him, and Chukwuma knows this person I'm talking about. So sometimes when people talk about this man, they look at him from the prism of what they see outside. And I am not as close as you might think, but I reported under him.
So are you trying to say he rewards those that are loyal to him?
Yes.
Okay.
That is absolute.
So, but,
you can't contest
has somebody been loyal?
Now, let me tell you the history of Ambode.
Go ahead.
Ambode was never in the card in the eyes of the Lagosians. But Ambode was the poster boy that Tinubu wanted as at the time he became governor. And how was it? You see, when Obasanjo was reeling on the neck of Tinubu and Lagos State, when he withheld local government allocation, there was a time Obasanjo sent AFCC to Lagos State to look at the finances of Lagos State. And it became a very tough thing for Tinubu or the government to extricate itself from that probe. And Ambode came in as the Accountant General of the state.
Okay, yeah.
And he was able to mop up the mess.
Okay.
I will not go into the details of how this mess was mopped up. So,
and then he was basically handpicked. You know, I said, okay, this will be the next.
No.
Okay.
Just hold on. I'm just trying to trace.
I'd like for you to to get.
You know why I'm trying to trace this history is for you to understand when I said 95%.
95%. Okay.
So he was able to clear that mess, and by the time FCC got to Lagos State government offices, there was nothing.
So he basically covered things up.
Well, I may not want to use that word, but you would understand. I'm not too good at English language. Now,
no, clearing the mess. That's basically what it means.
Now,
and he was rewarded.
No, at that time,
so
there was no reward because he had gotten to the Senate. Because at Accountant General, you are in the level of permanent secretary, and he was too young in the service for him to proceed to become HOS, head of service. So when he left the government, when Tinubu left the government, Fashola inherited him, but somehow there was probably an infraction. And Fashola was bent on sacking him. But Tinubu prevailed on Fashola not to go ahead and do that. And it was retired with all the full benefits.
Okay.
But that thing was close to Tinubu's chest. So when it was time, after Fashola's service of 8 years,
he decided to reward him.
So he went
back to him. So basically, is it okay to say that Ambode was to Tinubu what Siminalaye Fubara was to Wike?
Well, I don't know the context at which you are saying that, but I know that he had worked closely with Tinubu to the extent that Tinubu could trust him. And one thing about Tinubu is, as long as Tinubu lives, no politician can ever be governor of Lagos State.
Okay,
now the context.
Now, where they fell apart was usually when they get into office, they want to be like Fubara or Obaseki. They want to be on their own. Forgetting that Tinubu holds the aces in politics of Lagos State, while he only allowed you to be in government.
All right, so we'll get back to that, holding the aces in politics. We'll get back to that. But let's look at some people have said that the outing of Tinubu during the presidential election in 2023 was woeful because Lagosians were not pleased with the Sanwo-Olu's administration and, by extension, Tinubu's intention to run for the presidency. But bringing back an Ambode that did a lot of infrastructural work that people saw would kind of calm frayed nerves. We know that when Ambode was there, he did a lot of work, a lot of roads were constructed. But we also know that a lot of those things were done, without recourse to his principal, without recourse to those that put him there. He was basically making decisions alone. Now, are we going to see the same Ambode, that would take funds and fix the state, or are we going to see a more compliant Ambode if he gets a second chance at it?
A lot of things are not in the open, but at least to some extent I'm private to some of those things.
Let's put those things in the open.
Now, let me tell you, the governor will never be on the neck. I mean, the Tinubu will not be on the neck of anybody that is a governor, not to do what he ought to do. He would have tested you. Look at the number of people. The current governor was commissioner for commerce and industry.
But we know that. I mean, it was in some quarters. They say what led to the fallout was the president at the time. It said, on the neck of the governor, asking for certain things that he couldn't meet up with at the time, and basically a similar thing led to fallout between Tinubu and Babatunde Fashola at the time.
You see, anybody that said Tinubu was asking for something that Ambode couldn't give is a blatant liar.
Okay.
What made them fall apart was the fact that at some point, Loma, the creation of Loma was to have layers, and it was to take care of certain things in the state politically. And
what are those things?
For instance, if you have these skip eaters, they are allotted to party stalwarts.
Okay.
You understand? And these skip eaters also serve purpose politically. Now, Ambode, in his own wisdom, and that of a popular pastor, brought a South African, took away Loma from the normal run of events, and the South African became the sole operator of refuse collection, disposal, and recycling. And
so the boys were not getting food.
Those who were like contractors in Loma had to cry. And when they cried to the Oga, he said, well, you own the state. I am not the owner of the state. Whatever you want to do, go ahead and do.
Now, do you think that...
And at the end of the day, when the Lagosians responded, the South African took to his heels.
So now that you have actually x-rayed all this, you've pointed out all these points, you say that Ambode is coming back in 95%. Do you think that his coming back is going to anyway, more like bring this particular president to the good light? Here in Lagos to start with.
How does
this is the first time he or APC actually is in Lagos to another party. It happened in 2023. Peter Obi won in Lagos State. Now, are you saying that with the Ambode coming back again, for the 2027, like you pointed out, saying that he's going to be here 95%, do you think that that's going to in any way give any leverage to the president in gaining this particular ticket that he's hoping to get in 2027?
It will.
It's going to happen.
I'll tell you.
Okay. All right. I'd like to go back to I'd like to go back briefly, before we go to Port Harcourt, to the Ambode issue, and how you think clearly that he's likely to come back. Now, before Ambode left, in the first place...
off camera, I think I've said some of these things to you.
Oh, maybe I can't recall exactly now. But I know that we've talked a bit
when
about...
When she is...
this thing. Now, you know that when Fashola wanted to leave, he didn't want Ambode. He had a senior advocate on top of my head, who was his commissioner for justice. Shashore. It was Shashore that Fashola wanted, but all of that didn't work out. Now, you also know that there were skirmishes between the president and Fashola at the tail end. In fact, it took the intervention of Lagos elders, for him not to have been impeached. The story you have told about, refuse disposals and all of that, Lagosians believe, and a lot of people that I've spoken to believe that it is just one side of the story. That the major styles of the story, had to do with the formula. Like, so I want to bring into context. I want to
formula.
Excuse me. I want to bring in the context that Moses talked about Wike and Fubara and Fubara and Tinubu and Ambode. So do you think that let me land? It's about godfatherism.
Yes.
Now the factors that led to it, which I say a lot of people believe is formula. Do you think that that problem has been resolved, or that it will be resolved in favor of the president to enable him allow Ambode to come back to office?
You see, time has to some extent tore down the tension. And of course, for him to just come up again to say, yes, I want to have another shot at the Alausa government house, there must have been some concessions,
between him and the president.
And so for me, there must have been some gray areas that almost led to that issue at that time that would have been resolved before he comes out to say. And besides, don't forget that Tinubu is in presidency now, and if he wins in 2027, he will still be the president, and Ambode will be the governor. And don't forget that we are to rein in a governor is in the House of Assembly.
In the House of Assembly. Now, again, before we go to Port Harcourt, one quick one. What will be the place of Sheyi Tinubu, Modashiru Obasa, Femi Gbajabiamila in the 2027 contest in Lagos State? Are you able to situate all of that?
Obasa has acquired some level of political structure. And that is against anybody that wants to be governor of Lagos State.
As far as the president is concerned?
Yes. Gbajabiamila is no longer the poster boy. He's just retaining his position for the optics. It's not as powerful as it used to be.
Why so? Why so? Why so?
Look at those infractions now. They have to manage it.
What infractions?
About the Beta Edu. It was alleged to have been involved, and everything just went down. Nobody's talking about it.
Now, Sheyi
Tinubu, of course, the elders would have said, no, this is too much. Your wife.
Okay, so beautiful.
All right, let's go to
sorry, Moses, I'm sorry.
Prince
So
Nixon
there are elders.
There are elders in Lagos State
that could reign in the president.
Of course. Nobody is, even Trump, as powerful as he is.
All right, then. Thank you very much. Let's bring Prince Nixon Okwara into this conversation. Now, it's not a one-sided conversation. So, Prince Nixon Okwara, thanks for joining us. Good morning to you.
Thank you. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Now, looking at the structure, the political structure in Lagos State, and, Ambode seems to be coming back. How does this benefit APC, especially in Lagos State, and perception of Nigerians?
I think 2027 is still a long way to go for one to actually say who is coming back or who is not coming back. I understand that he may have interest in returning back as a governor, which is not a bad candidate, and just like so many other candidates who are aspiring to be the next governor of Lagos State. So we have a lot of good candidates that the presidents have raised in the past, that any of them will mean well for the party in Lagos State, not just somebody. So in this situation we are now, him being the first person that can come out to say, oh, I want to lead the presidential campaign in 2027 is a bold step. Remember that they had a very good record in Lagos State during his 4 years tenure, both on infrastructural development and the smart city programs and all that. Though he fell out with the party in the primaries, and he didn't make it to the primaries. And eventually we still got another person. You can see the president governor is doing extremely very well in Lagos State. So we have a lot of people who will win for the party in Lagos State.
Okay, so now let's look at the names the names that have come up, and let's, as a strategist, help us through the one person that might be, a better strategy put forward. We have the speaker, Mudbudashiro Basa. He is one person that has indicated interest. He has said that, look, I mean, I'm not trying to usurp authority or take power from anybody, but I have what they have. I know what they know, and I can also run. We also have the president's Man Friday, Femi Gbajabiamila. Some are saying he might be next in line as well. We have the president's son. Now, we know that the president's son has been going around doing some sort of campaign, giving out goodies in some parts of the country. And some are saying there is a possibility that he's been propped up to also take that seat, of the governor of Lagos State. So, and then Ambode, one who has been there before, with the record that he has, also indicating interest. So let's look at these individuals. What strategy do you think would better put APC in, a better light come 2027?
Let me tell you, the gospel truth there is, like I said, it's too early to start saying who.
Is it really too early? Is it really too early? Because campaigns seem to be, I mean, in Port Harcourt, in the Delta, we know that some persons are doing some sort of door-to-door campaign for the 2027 election, and there seems to be campaign going on. In Lagos, you have posters, stickers, asking people, some sort of door-to-door campaign going on. Is it really too early?
It's too early. You see, most of those speculations are done by opposition. The opposition is always trying to know what the party wants to do the next minute. And because of that, they're popping up so many kind of stories and here and there. But let me tell you that the president and the entire party is remaining focused on the administration, which is just merely 2 years into the 4 years. So I'm not sure that 2027 is yet a problem to decide. And when you look at, like you said before, all the candidates you're mentioning, none have come out emphatically to tell you, I want to run for Lagos State governorship. It's only when so many of them make themselves available, they will start profiling and being able to say, the party will look into the party system and our operational metrics, and to say this is who we will support because of this, and this is the best candidate to field in 2027.
Okay, so because we're running out of time, the question I asked was, as a political strategist that you are, which of these individuals, I mean, if we're to have this conversation over a glass of wine or something, which would you tell me will be a better fit for the APC?
Let me tell you something. As a party man, picking on a particular candidate at this time is too early, and it will not do good for the party and the Renew Hope agenda. We are focusing more importantly on giving governorship to Lagosians and Nigeria at large, and not for me as a party man, as a political analyst, to start talking about a particular candidate I feel that will be better positioned in 2027.
When you say it is too early, even with the presidency there, we also know that there are talks for the sitting vice president now to be laid off for the 2027 election as the party shop for someone they believe is more viable. Chieftain Kwankwaso to be the one that will take over, being the vice presidential candidate for the 2027 election. I say that your party, as APC chieftain that you are moving too fast, by looking within the windows to look for someone that they believe will deliver what the president.
I'm not sure you have heard from the president or the party chairman that they are shopping for a replacement of the vice president. I'm not sure you've heard that.
We've also had endorsement. Mr. Nixon Okwara. There was an endorsement that happened in Gombe that threw the people or the political or the APC members now, more like disrupt what they had then in the forum that they organized, where some persons come up to endorse the president without mentioning the name of the vice president. And when the people contested that, they were told that they are just there to endorse one person. How possible is it to, bring up just one person? And
let me tell you something in politics, okay? You don't expect all members of APC to like the vice president. You don't expect all the party loyalists to like the vice president to continue in 2027. And this is about who gets what. So there will be agitations against who you don't like and who you like. But that doesn't change the party's decision. Until the party decides and say this is where we are moving, every agitation, everybody is right within his own rights. Everybody agitation is still okay for now, but there is no where one can say the party is thinking of replacing anybody, not even the governors, not the vice president.
Are you saying in other breath now, Prince Nixon, that they will not, or rather, we're not going to see the incumbent, I'm talking about the president of Nigeria, coming back again for the race in 2027, since you're saying that, you know, nobody actually is endorsing anybody or talking or pointing at anyone now?
The president has done so well, overwhelmingly well, that the Nigerians will want him to come back. That's whether he likes it or not. The party cannot even, who again will the party feel as our candidate? So that is a different ballgame to what you're saying. There is this particular perception within the party, and we all know that the politics, you see, you can see the way dollar has been stable for so many months now.
But the president have not told you that he's going to come back. If you're talking about people saying things and how they want it to be, you know, you're just saying that everybody must not love the vice president, you know, and then people have the right to decide. Also in the party, we have aggrieved members also who does not really align with what the president is saying. Are you saying that those people coming up to say we're not endorsing him now is not going to have an effect?
They are very free to say that, but I'm trying to tell you that when you look at, instead of having anybody to say I'm not in support of the president within the APC, you are seeing opposition parties now jumping back into the APC and saying the president is doing well, all of us will support him in 2027. So the place of the president and this Lagos State policies is totally different. It's totally different. It's a totally a different ball game. Okay. The president has done very well. That even you in the media for a while now cannot even criticize him when it comes to the economic policies. You have nothing to say about it. The only thing everybody says, Nigerians are hungry. Nigerians are hungry. But you are not looking at the indices and metrics. Okay. You are not looking at elections that have been checkmate for over almost a year now. You are not looking at the stability of the naira. You are not looking at the stability of the markets. You're not looking at the inflation has reduced. So these are the things we're looking at before we can say all of us are supporting the Mr. President.
Okay.
And that's what
interesting, Prince Nixon Okora, to understand that journalists don't even have any point with which to criticize the president. You talked about how insecurity has stalled, how inflation has dropped, and how Nigerians are no longer hungry. Nixon, do you still live in this country, if I may ask you?
I beg your pardon.
What is going on in Katsina State? Excuse me, Nixon. Excuse me. Let me ask my questions. We had the governor of Katsina State meet the other day with the president. And what was the issue? The issue of insecurity, that local government areas in Katsina State have been shut down. Schools shut down. Farmers can no longer go to farm. And you are talking about insecurity in the whole of the north. Look at what is going on in Kwara State. Look at what is going on in Borno State. And when you talk about inflation, what is the inflationary rate now? Even after rebasing the economy, what do we have? 28.3%. Is that where he met it? Is that where the PDP left it? When you talk about the naira stabilizing, what is stability? What do you mean by stability? At what rate? 1,560 naira per dollar. Is that where the APC met it in 2015? And you come out to tell, excuse me, Nixon, you said that, look, who else can the APC fail? Is the president the only person in the whole of APC? God forbid the president drops down today. Does it mean that nobody in the... What about the vice president? Can't he run this country?
Chukuma, I've heard you. What I mean here that you don't change a winning team. That takes care of that.
Which team is winning? That's the question. Which team is winning?
The president is winning. Let me answer the economic questions you raised here. All right? This is the first time we are having the true reflection of our currency. And even what you call weakness has turned to strength, because there is a lot of dollars today chasing naira. Maybe if you don't know that.
I don't know, because you lie. I don't know that.
I haven't lied to you. There are records to show that. Even the World Bank last statements will tell you that our economic policies are the top notch and we are moving in the right direction. But unfortunately, because of these policies came harsh and hard and sudden, just because the president could not wait to transform what he has been planning for Nigeria as a president that is prepared for presidency. So he has to bring home what he has to offer. And as I speak to you today, you know that Nigeria is a destination of the world investors today. Everybody is talking about our stock market on the international market. Zenith Bank is on the international market. UBS is on the international market. All of them are competing. You cannot be talking about this.
Nixon, 2 months ago, foreigners pulled out 562 billion naira from the Nigerian stock market. Are you not aware of that, sir?
As a matter of fact, many of them who could not stand the manipulative market will pull out.
Beautiful.
And the genuine traders will remain.
Good.
The economy has been so much fixed in the situation that all those corrupt practices have been checkmated by the president's policies. And those policies are what is chasing all the criminals who have been here manipulating our economy. So we're having the real Nigerian economy. Is it the dollar that we have been subsidizing dollar for how many years? Then we borrow dollar at a higher rate, subsidize it.
Now, Prince Nixon, all this you just pointed out, you know, an average man actually on the street of Lagos does not understand that. Now, can you help us actually bring that down, break it down to the point where, you know, someone can get to the market and buy a cup of gari, a cup of rice and go home and eat? Can you also help us actually to marry that to the fact that, hold on, please, Mr. Nixon, hold on 1 minute. Can you also marry that to the fact that at this point in time, Nigeria, which happens to be an oil producing economy now, Nigerians are expected to pay 5% tax on any PMS you buy from the fuel pump. Can you also marry that also with the fact that Nigerians cannot go to the farm? People are living in IDPs in this great nation. Can you also marry that also with the fact that people are dying out of hunger? The same World Bank you made mention of now, made Nigerians to understand that June is already out. This is now September. And I believe over 133 million Nigerians that they talk about is going to move into multi-dimensional poverty.
Can you stop whipping up sentiments and let me
answer your sentiments, please. I'm just telling you to help us out.
Can I answer? You know, when it comes to this kind of sentiments, it's touchy. Anybody feels the hearts of Nigerians because of the fact that a lot of them are facing, a lot of us are facing challenges, insecurity and all that. But it didn't start with the Mr. President, mind you. The President is doing his best. And there has to be different approach to solve our economic problems and insecurity problem. And that's what he's doing. Like I always keep saying, that this is the first time that the President of Nigeria is approaching all our policies differently. That is the gospel truth here. Now, when you talk about the Kaduna and all the insecurities in the north, you and I know that before the president came in 2023, there was almost Abuja was overrun by insecurity. Those bandits were everywhere inside Abuja. We're not even talking about Niger State was almost gone. Almost all these areas were totally occupied. So what you say, we may not be where we are supposed to be, but you should remember that we are not where we used to be on insecurity. The way you talk about the hunger, I want to remind you something, that it didn't just start with this insecurity alone. Before now, when you go to the place like Southeast and Southwest, all the rural communities were producing food on their own. At a time, do you know that the food prices are cheaper now in urban cities than our rural areas? Unlike before that we moved from rural area to the urban cities. What is the cause of all these things? There were long neglect on connectivity of these towns. And you can see the president is meeting it up by giving us a super highway that will make a movement across all these states faster. And that's the only way that you can connect cities and rural areas.
All right.
The president is trying to open up our sea movements, and the rest of them is by policy. He's not going to build it.
All right.
Well, he has to create a policy that will last. And this thing can be done in one day. It was a damage that started with the PDP. From 1999 to today, the damage.
Right, thank you very much.
So
Prince
we must
Nixon
understand
Okwara.
that fact.
All right then. Thank you very much, Prince Nixon Okwara. Well, these are your views. I'm sure a lot of Nigerians will disagree with you. But let's move on to another conversation now. Ebonyi government bans house and land agents starting from 2026. Let's talk about this when we come back. I know we also have a guest from Abuja who will be joining this conversation. We understand that he has joined already, and I'm talking about Patrick Ohifieme. Well, he's joined the conversation already. We'd like you to stay with us as we get into the second conversation this morning.
We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are Voice of the People TV. Also follow us on all our social media platforms. We are at VOP TV Live. Visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. Also watch us live on SLTV channel 264. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television.
Glad to have you back at still VOP this morning. The Ebonyi State government has announced a ban on house and land agents effective from 2026 as part of effort to address soaring accommodation costs across the state. Governor Francis Obunanwifuru, who disclosed the policy, said the activities of the agents were largely responsible for the continuous rise in rents for houses and shops. According to him, some agents exploit residents by charging as much as 500,000 naira, $500,000, simply to show properties they do not own, worsening the accommodation crisis for ordinary citizens. The state government explained that the ban is aimed at curbing fraudulent practices in the property market, stabilizing rental prices, and ensuring that residents can access affordable housing without the burden of middleman charges. The new directive represents a major shift in Ebonyi's real estate sector and is expected to bring relief to tenants and business owners as they struggle with escalating rents. We still have with us in the studio here veteran reporter, VOP in-house political analyst, Mr. Dele Fanimo. And we told you already that in Abuja we'll have Patrick Ohi-Fame, a good governance advocate, join us virtually. And we still have Prince Nixon Okara join the conversation from Port Harcourt. He is a public affairs analyst, a political strategist, a certified security and risk management expert. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being with us. Let me establish communication with you. Mr. Patrick Ohi-Feme, can you hear me? Good morning. If you can hear me, please, I'd like you to unmute your device because I can't hear you from my end. Yeah, good morning. Good to have you join today's conversation. Mr. Fanimo, let's start off with you. What do you have to say about this particular, this particular directive from Governor Wifuru, saying that by 2026, there's a ban on agents, even the ones that show shops and houses and everywhere. All agent activities in the state, according to him, now will be strictly banned from 2026. What do you have to say about this, given the fact that Nigerians, or rather persons, have actually been complaining about the high price of rentage, not because of the landlord now, but because of the fact that we have all these agents adding high charges of fees to persons that want to rent apartments?
I thought the governor would know better by issuing this kind of order that is not enforceable. Number one, the basic economics that I had in secondary school taught me about demand and supply. Now let's take a snap along the road, on Airport Road, where we are located. You imagine somebody carrying a 4-liter keg filled with fuel on the roadside. If you spot that person, either as a motorist or as a commuter, what will readily come to your mind? That person has some mental issues. Because next to him, you can drive by. So that's the idea of demand and supply. If demand outstrips supply, you will see what you are witnessing. But if supply outstrips demand, you won't get what we're having. I was expecting that the governor should have taken it beyond what he's talking about. Bring in private investors, have PPP arrangements, build more houses in Ebonyi State, and let's see the agent that will come, that will be begging you. Today, petroleum attendants in the filling stations, what do? They even beckon on you, beg you, cajole you, play and be friendly with you, just because they want their pump to finish or exhaust what they also sell for that day. So what we are saying is, if there are fewer houses and there are more will-be tenants, who will stop that agent? When I'm desperate I know that along Airport Road, I need a property because it is strategic to my business. And then there are 5-6 people jostling from that particular property. So the person that gets the shop will wait for the governor to come and enforce no agent before he gets that shop. No.
Okay. But let's get another view. We have one of our virtual guests from Abuja, Patrick Ohifeme. He's a good governance advocate. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good to have you join the conversation. We do understand that we lost connection with you earlier. But let's look at, this law, as it were, from Ebonyi State, and how it spreads across other parts of Nigeria as well. We know, excuse me, the impact of middlemen, agents, and they seem to have made house rent skyrocket because the percentage they put on it. In Lagos, for example, I think the law says it should be 10% of what you're paying, but we see sometimes it's way above 10%, which automatically makes the house quite expensive. In fact, in many cases, the agents are the ones that will tell the house owner that, look, increase your rent because housing in this area has gone from, for example, from 500 to 1.5 million naira. So increase it, knowing fully well that their own percentage will increase as well. Now, putting a ban on the activities of agents, will that be the solution? Or what other solution would you prefer?
Okay, thank you. Firstly, I agree with the guest in the studio because this has to do with demand and supply. Because like he rightly said, once you have, scarcity, you are unable to properly regulate such an environment. Of course, at the root of this, you could also talk about issues of patriotism, because when there's love for nation, okay, we do not take advantage of our fellow citizens. Now, the issue of Ebonyi State, for me, I believe strongly that the governor can provide clear leadership in this regard. Now, firstly, if we were to embark on, private PPP, trying to get estates and all of that, that has a time, it has a time within which it can materialize. But I believe that in democracy, communication must be engendered. Now, what is the number of people who are agents in Ebonyi State? Because let's not forget, Nigeria across states is having, we're having issues of unemployment. And that's why you find that a lot of young people are gainfully employed in this agent sector. And again, it's wrong to also throw the baby out with the bathwater, because don't forget that not every agent is an opportunist. Not every agent is so greedy to go outside the terms of 5% or 10% marks. Not every agent exploits their clients. So if the governor, in the case of Ebonyi State, initiates a dialogue, you find that you are going to hear directly from the people. And from the feedback you get, you are able to now develop a mechanism that helps to, clear some of the few bad eggs within the system without now throwing people out of employment. Because an outright ban for me
Well, we seem to have an interruption with the network there, and okay, all right then. Well, that's there's been an interruption with the network.
Because of course the end income. Hello.
Go ahead. Your audio, we lost your audio for a bit there, but we can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can now. Go ahead.
Pardon?
All right, I do understand there's a delay in the reception there, but let's bring it back to the studio, and then when we go back to Patrick, I do believe that audio would have been fixed. Oh, we do have Nixon Okwara still with us. Prince Nixon, are you still with us?
I'm with you.
Oh,
I'm
great, great. Now, let's look at a solution to the problem. The problem that has been caused by, some will say, lack of houses, but some will disagree, that it's not a lack of availability that has led to the increase in price of increase in rents. It's sometimes maybe just greed. What do you say will be the solution? Do you think a ban? Now, for example, in Lagos, the government in Lagos is proposing 1 year rent. They're also proposing monthly rent as a way of reducing the burden of rentage on the ordinary man. Would that be a solution to the exorbitant rent that has been experienced nationwide?
Thank you. As a matter of fact, I'm happy you mentioned Lagos. Solving the rental hike in the Nigeria real estate sector requires a multi-strategy approach. What I mean by multi-strategy approach, the government policies on availability of housing, trying to curb the housing deficits in Nigeria is one aspect. Then the second aspect is kind of regulating the building industry and the real estate industry, the raw material markets, standardization of rental fees and agencies, then the regulatory authorities in place like what is done in Lagos. The outright ban in Enugu's Ebonyi State is not in the best interest of the market, because you might be seeing daylight monopoly in the market, and instead of solving the problem, they create more problems where the houses would be unavailable to the masses. You recall that in Nigeria, we have not been able to put in place also a mortgage system that can provide housing for the middle class. And if you allow the private sectors, like the governor could be aiming, to completely dominate the building and the estate industry, how would the poor masses who cannot afford the rigorous process, which have not been taken care of by the states, how would they are going to afford housing in that state? How would the poor masses who just develop traditional lands or build on land banking, real estate and all that, how would they cope? So what we have done by the end of the day will be like the obsolete Land Use Act of Nigeria, which eventually made land unavailable to the people than what it was intended to do. So you just, from trying to curb the activities of these people and banning them completely, one, you create a job loss for those set of people who practice the real estate agency. Where are you absorbing them? And many of them are those who just maybe didn't have a very, very advanced education system or something to get employment, as almost the only thing that works in Nigeria is white-collar job. Okay. Are you looking at upskilling them? Are you taking them to? Have you satisfied meeting up with the teeming population of the Nigerian graduates who are still looking for job in the same Ebonyi State? Then you are trying to disengage people. So I condemn that in all entirety. I suggest that the governor should look at stakeholders' engagements, whereby they can get the people to discuss with the agents, the real estate sectors, and see how you can regulate it, like what is on Lazera. Lazera in Lagos State now is regulating the activities of the agents, then uniform commissions, registrations, and permits to make sure that you curb the aspect of quacks and fraudulent practices in that sector. Then you talk about even taxing them. It becomes another source of revenue to the states. Then you also engage them in training and certifications, like it's done in other countries. When you go to UK, England, there are agents who went through skill acquisitions, upskilling, and became professional. Many of them eventually developed to being a surveyor, those who can read and go further in that career. But outright ban is completely a very wrong approach, and the adverse effects on the states will be more as in worse than you can imagine. That's my suggestion.
All right then. Let's bring you back to the studio now. For Lagos State, the issue of monthly rent. Some have said that will not be, a solution to the exorbitant rentage being experienced in Lagos. And we know that in some areas, landlords will say, look, You didn't build the house for me, so you can't tell me how to collect rentage on it. And for some of these landlords, the house itself is their retirement package. That's all they depend on. What would you advise?
It's late Lateef Jakonde, Lateef Jakonde, tried to solve this problem. Perhaps if there had been continuity after his exit in 1983, premature exit, maybe this issue of rent skyrocketing maybe would have been reduced to the barest minimum. We have seen countries where the government built houses in anticipation of population. For instance, in Libya, as at the time this man was killed, Muammar Gaddafi, he had built houses that would accommodate projected population for 15 years as at the time he died. So it's not a question of you are looking for agent to help you look for a house. The moment you get married, you transit from a 1-bedroom apartment to 2-bedroom. When you start raising your children, you transit from 2 to 3, depending on your family, the size of your family. And these things are heavily subsidized. And Libya depends solely on oil. Whereas Nigeria has oil and several other mineral resources.
Okay.
So it still boils down to mismanagement of resources.
Okay, but do you think putting agents into an umbrella body and placing...
There's always been.
Oh, wow. Because it's really difficult to tell, because a lot of them, you could have people that just wake up one day and say, look, I'm an agent. So it's just difficult to tell which is...
Just like you have doctors and you have fake doctors. Licensed and registered, you still find them around. But the ones that are largely more in population are the ones along the street. They don't even have offices. You have to go and meet them in their room to say, I'm looking for a house in so street. Say, okay, let me call Baba Lati to get to. So those ones, how do you capture them?
So putting a tax, some sort of levy on them, would that help in any way?
It would escalate the problem.
It will escalate.
Because they will pass the tax over to the would-be tenant. So it doesn't solve it. The only solution to rent problem, tenancy problem, is for government to go into massive. And let me tell you another thing that could also solve this problem. For instance, in Lagos, is that there are contiguous states around Lagos. You have Ibadan, or your state. You have Abeokuta, Ogun State. You have Shagam. You understand? Now, even companies are moving their plants outside Lagos.
The interesting thing is housing is becoming expensive over there as well. For example, Ikorodu used to be the go-to area.
Low end.
Yes, low-end area.
Because
now Ikorodu is becoming expensive.
Because Lagos is generally landlocked.
A one-bedroom flat in Ikorodu.
You understand? Lagos is generally landlocked. And because it is landlocked, there's a limitation to expansion. You understand? And so most people who cannot afford Lekki, Aja, are moving back to Ikorodu. And so
it's becoming expensive over there.
It's becoming expensive.
So let me tell you,
imagine if there is a rain.
What is there any guarantee that if people keep moving to Shagamu, Abeokuta,
it will come down. It will come down. Let me tell you how it will come down. Look, most people that even stay in Ikorodu, they stay and keep their family in Ikorodu. They work on the island. And so they still come back to rent a room. Or they put themselves together, about 4 people, rent a flat and stay there Monday to Friday and go back to rest in Ikorodu at the weekend.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Absolutely agree.
Now imagine there's a rail connection around Ogun, Oyo, Lagos. These are contiguous states.
Okay.
Now you can travel between Ibadan and Lagos for about an hour, which is not even enough to travel from Sango to Island. What stops me as a person? I'm an Ibadan man. What stops me from sleeping in Ibadan and waking up to come and work in Lagos and return to Ibadan?
Same day.
Okay, so now in the interim, before we get to that level where there's a rail connection and all of that, How do we solve the problem of agents in Nigeria?
You see, agents, they are like rats in the house. Okay. When you have about 100 rats in the house, how do you kill with your bare hand 100 at the same time? You see, the only thing, it's a lost battle. I must tell you this, because even when you try to rein in these agents, those who want them will still go after them, because most times people are desperate. Landlords will tell you, okay, and the law does not even favor tenants in some cases.
Okay, so should the government create an agency that would be an off-taker, take off that responsibility from the
They are taking people out of job. They are taking people out of job, either formal or informal sector.
Okay.
The formal ones are the ones that have Dele Fanimo and Sons, okay, real agency, But the other ones are the ones which are more in population, that don't even have address, don't even have anything.
So it's an industry.
It's an industry.
So if you displace them, you cause problem in society.
You may end up coming to populate armed robbers.
All right. So it's a problem we have to live with.
It's a problem we have to live with until we are able to solve that problem by making sure that the supply outstrips demand.
All right, then. Well, let's get concluding thoughts from Patrick in Abuja. I do hope we've been able to rectify the network glitch earlier. Patrick, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Please, let's have your concluding thoughts on this one, and then we'll get into a final conversation for today.
Okay. So, like the other speakers have already spoken, I agree with them completely. It's a big issue. You can't just, rule out agents completely. It's not even practicable, because, the issue of scarcity exists. And because of that, you are going to have agents, because those who need houses. Now, ask yourself, when you want to rent a house in Nigeria, is there a catalog, properly, done, where you just go to and you're able to get houses? Even if anyone puts up a website, the person is still an agent, albeit, doing it more professionally. Okay, so people need information on where houses are, because there aren't enough houses in the first place. So these issues are societal issues that must, a stakeholder conversation must take place. This helps to get, multiple inputs from all the stakeholders, including those who are looking for houses, including those who are developers. And like, somebody rightly suggested, the cost of building materials is also a big challenge. Okay, look at civil servants. Is there a mortgage in place that helps a civil servant to?
Well, quite unfortunately, the network has
own a building. You have a lot of need to be sincere and open about it, and have a conversation that brings all the stakeholders together.
All right, then. Well, thank you very much for your thoughts now. We'd like you, gentlemen, to stay with us. I'm talking about Patrick, Prince Nixon, and Dele Fanimo as we get into a final conversation. Court declares 15-year compulsory service in military unconstitutional, says soldiers free to resign anytime. Let's talk about this when we come back.
Now, welcome back. The National Industrial Court in Abuja has nullified the controversial rule that compels officers of the Nigerian Armed Forces to serve for at least 15 years before they can resign, describing it as unconstitutional and oppressive. While delivering judgment on Tuesday, that's day before yesterday, Justice Emmanuel D. Sobilim ruled that no member of the military should be forced into what he described as modern-day slavery under the guise of national service. The judge stressed that Section 306 of the Constitution grants public servants, including soldiers, the right to resign at any time. The decision came in a suit filed by Lagos-based human rights lawyer Nebehe Effiong on behalf of Flight Lieutenant J.A. Akerele against the Chief of Air Staff and the Nigerian Air Force. Akerele, who was commissioned in 2013 under Goodluck Jonathan, narrated years of frustration and persecution within the service, which eventually pushed him to resign. According to him, after tendering his resignation letter, his commander and superior officers supported the move and recommended approval. However, the Chief of Air Staff rejected his application, citing the 15-year mandatory service rule under the harmonized terms and conditions of service, and declared him absent without leave, a will, and ordered his arrest. Well, we still have in the studio here Mr. Delefonimo, and from Abuja, Patrick, as well as Nixon that joined us from Port Harcourt. Gentlemen, thanks for staying with us. Now, Dele, let me come with you. You understand all of this. Now, so what's your reaction? 15 years, if you get into the military, until 15 years, you don't leave, you don't resign. But the court has upturned that decision, that act. Is it an act, that rule in the military? What's your reaction? What will be the effect on Nigerian armed forces?
Well, what that judgment seeks to achieve is to reduce regimental life to civil rule. And it's not done anywhere in the world. It's not done anywhere in the world. Even generals are put on reserve list in some countries. The NYC that we established in 1973 here was fashioned after the Israelis, who made it compulsory on attainment of certain age, I think 16 or 18, that you must go through military service, military training, so that you be on the reserve list. That's why even no matter what happens to Israel today, the average man or woman on the street that is above 18 is on reserve list. So when it's called upon, you just need to wear the uniform. It doesn't require further training to go into operations.
Okay.
And so, in Nigeria, to guarantee loyalty and to ensure continuity, that's why some of these laws were put in place. It's not just about the constitution alone. Military tradition supports this.
Okay, that you undertake to serve your country,
yes, for a certain period of time
within which
you can.
You don't have the freedom to
except if you have injuries that may not want you to continue,
okay,
or maybe mental issues that will not give you that opportunity to continue in service.
Okay.
But you see, the point is, how do you train somebody to be a military man? Once you acquire that regimental training, you are no longer going to operate as a civilian.
Okay.
And there's a process of debriefing you for you to get out of that service. That's why you have this resettlement center in Oshodi. This resettlement center is not just created for the fun of it. Because regimental life,
essentially, you don't believe it's a good idea for someone to wake up and resign from the military.
So what that means now is that if this law stays, then you can acquire military training in NDA for 5 years, and then the next minute, after your commissioning, you tender resignation. Okay, what if you had the motive of committing crime and you needed to acquire training?
Now, in view of this, how do you think that will impact the military? Do you see an upsurge in the number of people that will likely leave the military?
Not only that, it will promote insubordination. Because you know that next minute, if your commander, or operation commander, or even your GOC, if he does anything that you don't find funny, you just say, my friend, get away.
I resign. All right. Now, let's go to Port Harcourt, where we still have Prince Nixon. Nixon, good to have you back. Good to have you stay with us. Now, Nixon, what's your reaction to this court judgment that says, look, the 15-year mandatory service is for members of the Nigerian Armed Forces. It's like modern-day slavery. And the court has said, look, it's not legal. What's your reaction?
Thank you. This is victory for the Nigerians and the Nigerian military. As a matter of fact, it underscores the importance of the ongoing constitutional amendments and public hearing, a lot of these our draconian laws need to be reviewed. That is the gospel truth. When you look at that pronouncement of the courts, he simply called it a modern day slavery. There is no better way to say it than what the courts called it. And one of the things I also want to say, there are other modern day slaveries under our constitution. And I'm looking at one day that this, even under this constitutional amendment, things like state of origin, this is just building division from the fabrics and the foundation of Nigeria itself, rooted in the constitution. That's the vision. So a child that is born, you have directly told him from the day you issue a passport to him that you are an Igbo or you are an Hausa right from his passport. So he start thinking and living that way.
All right.
So this particular judgment gives a reason why the country must revisit a lot of
revisit a lot of things. Now, Nixon, do you expect the military to appeal this judgment, because it's a high court judgment and appeal court, Supreme Court? Do you expect the military to appeal this judgment?
I expect them. In fact, I wouldn't support them appealing it, but I expect them to. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
The military is gradually losing a lot of their soldiers under this away without official leave, what they call a wall. But our problem in this country sometimes, especially the military being the most disciplined forces in Nigeria, they would not want to lose a lot of their professionals, and many of them are going in droves because of poor welfare. You can see these days, even like before, when soldiers hardly come out publicly to pronounce or complain on social media, it will be regarded as a mutiny and the person. But these days, a lot of them are coming to social media to cry out, even from the bush where they are protecting the country. When you go to so many countries, the military are living so well because these people have to keep the integrity of the nation and their sovereignty intact against any external aggressions. I don't see the reason why these people could, when they show, some of them go to the extent of showing the kind of food they are served, the kind of gari they are giving right inside where they are fighting the Boko Haram. And this is very easy why any of them can sell out to all these enemies of the country, because when your enemy is living 20 times better than yourself that is fighting for your nation, then there is a problem there. There's already an insecurity within the army, talk less of just they calling external aggression. So their appealing it will not be to the best interest of the Nigerian and the military. Rather, I will advise that they go to the drawing board and see other incentives that can keep the military men to remain with the military and allow this law, which comes like another liberation to Nigerians and freedom to the soldiers, to stay. That is what I think. They must go back to drawing board and look at how possible to improve the life of our Nigerian soldiers. They are trying to survive over 15 years of insurgency, all right, in the bush. It's not easy. And when you look at the kind of war, the guerrilla warfare they are fighting, sometimes you see Chinese nationals, sometimes you see French nationals going with the terrorists against our military. So you see that these people are even more advanced to the extent now that the drone technology has entered here without our locally made technology advancing. These people have to use some of their natural wisdom to combat internationally skilled terrorists.
Thank you so much.
I think we have the best military, if care is not taken in the world, but their welfare should be looked into, and this law should be made to stay. That's my own contribution.
Thank you so much, Prince Nixon. Let's get your opinion on Mr. Patrick Oyefemi. There's some Nigerians of the opinion that the military will never adhere to this. You know, they are going to treat this particular judgment from the industrial court as, you know, they will disregard it. Do you also share that line of thought? Because the particular lawyer, the human rights activist that secured this particular victory, rather in the courts, you know, made mention of how the military also did not keep to certain judgments that they've already secured before, prior to this particular time.
Okay, thank you. And I'm glad you asked me this question. I'm really sorry, my network hasn't been very good. I wish, it was better. Now, I was hoping you asked me this question, and I'm glad you have asked. Now, this brings me to, because I listened to Mr. Nixon earlier when he said the president has performed, overwhelmingly well. I think one problem that we have in Nigeria, and the president, used to be a pro-democracy activist. Now, the issue of non-implementation of court judgments, even at Supreme Court level, I think, Mr. Nixon, you need to bring this as an APC member that you are. Nigerians are not happy. What is the essence of going to court,
Mr. Patrick,
getting a judgment?
Mr. Patrick, we will appreciate you to just respond without attacking other guests on the show. Go ahead. Just give us your thoughts.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. It's just an appeal. Okay, so we have a problem with court judgments implementation in Nigeria. Like Inibehe Effiong said, the lawyer, a couple of judgments were gotten from Akerele, including his property at VI. And, with total disregard. I mean, if the common man goes to court and then he gets judgment and it cannot be implemented, okay, assuming this whole military issue gets to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, yes, an officer can resign, and then somebody puts in application and the person is not allowed to go, where do we go from there? I think it is an issue that journalists and all Nigerians need to take very seriously. Take, for instance, there have been many cases where people get judgments against the armed forces, in particular the police. Go and ask many years after they are unable to get the judgment. So what manner of judgment are we talking about? So please, I want to use the opportunity to appeal to Mr. President to look at our court system. They are the third arm of the government, and they play a vital role. When they make judgment, please and please, it should be implemented. And I think the government should set up a judicial panel of review to look at judgments in the last 25 years that have not been implemented. There are a whole lot of them, please. I think this would help the nation move forward. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you very much. This will be a good place to anchor it. But, I was going to take Dele Fanimo up on something. You talked about the making it compulsory. And then you mentioned, I think, Israel or some part, But in Israel, I mean, I'm sure we'll have this conversation during newspaper review as well. In Israel, it's a compulsory 2 to 3 years for men and then 2 years for women, after which you can leave if you want to leave. So it's not compulsory.
You remain on the reserve list.
It's not compulsory for 15 years, which is, of course, a long time.
You see, what I'm saying is, the 15 years can be reduced, but there must be a time frame within which.
Oh well. Let's. We do appreciate you, Patrick Ohifeme, a good governance advocate who joined us virtually from Abuja. Thank you very much. And then Prince Nixon Okwara, a public affairs analyst, a political strategist, certified security and risk management expert, a real estate developer, CEO of Onyx Group and national chairman, Igbo Stakeholders Forum. I was going to ask you, some have said Igbos will not vote Peter Obi come 2027. What's the take of your organization? On a lighter note now, Prince Nixon.
As a matter of fact, I do not see any person, not only Igbo stakeholders or otherwise in this country, to vote against President Tinubu.
Okay.
Because, yes, if all the president that started from President Obasanjo has done what he did now, we won't be here today if they had gone on this policy reform. So the best thing is for him to consolidate, and any other candidate, no matter how good he is, should wait till 2031. That's
all right. Your take. Thank you very much, Prince Nixon Okwara. Thank you for coming on the program, and also big thanks to Dele Fanimo for staying with us. Well, we do expect that you'll stay with us into newspaper review that comes up at 10 o'clock. Well, that's it on the show today. VOP this morning. But newspaper review is up next. And we'll get deeper into the headlines from the dailies. So join us again then. On behalf of my colleagues, I am Moses Humphrey.
Okay, enjoy the rest of your day.
I am Chukuma Okoro. See you again at 10 o'clock.